Well, it's about that time again, and it's time for me to cover the last 3 chapters of 100 Years Quest. And I'll be honest, well, I did like a lot of what I saw in these chapters. Some really great action and some really awesome 2-page spreads and artwork. I do have my gripes with the most latest chapter. However, things might not be as they seem, and I will get to it when I get to it. But really quick, I just want to ask you guys, do you prefer me doing 3 chapters every so often, or would you like me to do each of these chapter reviews with every 2 chapters? That way at least guaranteed 1 chapter video every single month at the bare minimum. Or are you fine with me just doing 3 videos all in one? Let me know in the comment section down below. I might put a poll on my community tab at some point. But that brief question announcement out of the way, let's get right into the review. So let's start off with chapter 150 of 100 Years Quest, titled Metal Dragon God Viernes. Okay, I gotta do a tangent real quick. I don't know what's up with the official translation calling him the Metal Dragon God, when based off his power set we see in these next couple of chapters, as well as in the fan translations and all that, he is the Gold Dragon God, and and it's literally part of his power set. I don't know, it might be like a translation thing where they're very similar. I don't know, I'm just gonna start calling him the Gold Dragon God, because Metal Dragon God doesn't really make too much sense, and it literally gives false information. Anyway, starting off with the chapter, Viernes showcases his full dragon form with everyone staring down at him. Viernes is then being charged at by Natsu. Since they essentially lost Athena to be the vessel of Viernes, Lucy calls out to Natsu to wait and talk about Athena, but Natsu says, "Are we just gonna run away now?" As Natsu says, "I gotta take this guy down for her sake too," as Viernes then launches a dragon breath attack at everyone as they all manage to dodge. But his dragon breath turns the tree and the surrounding rubble into gold. It's not burned down, everything it touched was turned straight into gold. That is a part of his power system, and again, why he is the Gold Dragon God. Viernes then unleashes a giant ray of light, showcasing a bunch of golden sparkles up into the sky. As now, he unleashes a rain of gold upon everybody, hitting everyone onto the ground as everyone tries to get away from this hail of gold. Viernes then stomps onto the ground and everything surrounding him starts to turn to gold as well, but Natsu charges up a fire dragon fist and hits Viernes square in the face, but it does nothing. In fact, the hardness literally is too much for Natsu as he literally falls to the ground, as punching this thing actually hurt him. As now they're thinking that this guy is way too hard for him to deal with, and they can't even believe that Natsu couldn't even seemingly damage him. Urza equips into her Heaven's Wheel to try and use her sword, and Wendy enchants it with Dragon Slayer magic, as Urza then begins to try and hit Viernes, but her sword snaps on contact, and which surprises everybody. Sting and Rogue then start to try and use their combo attack, the White Shadow Dragon Silk Thread, trying to hit Viernes from multiple directions at once, but it didn't even leave a mark on them. Jalal and Gray then launch him with their magics, the Freezing Lance and Altarius, but that also does nothing to Viernes. Natsu charges up full of flames and tries to go up towards Viernes, hitting him with a Fire Dragon's Wing attack. As this might not do anything, he calls out to Lucy and asks her to fight with them. Lucy then changes into her Aquarius star dress and says that if this is what Athena wants, we can't afford to lose. Viernes launches another breath attack at everybody as they manage to avoid it, but it lands a huge destructive blow, blowing everybody back, destroying the surrounding area. Everyone's wondering how they could take out Viernes, but Lucy mentions that Natsu's magic should be well suited for this, primarily because gold conducts heat and electricity very well. So basically, if Natsu has hot enough or strong enough flames, his powers are essentially the only thing that could actually deal some sort of damage to Viernes. Using actual science for this. Even though Natsu's not doing any actual damage, there is something being done with the heat of his flames. So essentially, everyone's saying that they just have to give their magic to Natsu so that he can actually deal greater damage. Wendy says she'll enchant everyone's magic into Natsu, but Natsu says he doesn't need it, and he charges off to face off against Viernes, saying, "I'm all fired up," as everyone is just essentially disappointed by Natsu, as Urza at the end just says, "I guess we just gotta give him more powers by force," with Wendy off on the side being like, "Alright, let's do it." And that ends chapter 150. Moving on to chapter 151, Carrying Their Feelings, Natsu charges straight at Viernes as everybody is just lamenting that Natsu is just like not listening to them or allowing them to help whatsoever and going in solo. But as Natsu didn't listen to them, they're not going to listen to Natsu, and they're just going to gather together so Wendy can enchant all their magic into Natsu. Everybody including the X-Seeds. Natsu begins to try and use the Fire Dragon's talent on Viernes, but that doesn't work, and he gets hit back by Viernes. Viernes takes up his claw to hit Natsu, and Natsu grabs his fist, but Natsu is pushed down by the sheer weight and force of Viernes' hit. He gets up from underneath Viernes' claw and starts to charge up a Fire Dragon's fist, and in the background, Wendy is getting everyone to hold hands and channel their magic into her so she can enchant it into Natsu. Natsu's fist didn't really do anything, and Viernes then launches another breath attack at Natsu. He dodges, but it ends up destroying again the surrounding area, turning everything in that place to rubble and gold. Wendy then enchants Natsu with everyone's powers, despite him saying not to. Viernes then hits Natsu square into the ground, as everyone is now exhausted back in their base forms, not even re-equipped. Natsu comes out of the rubble, saying, "Well, since you went through all the trouble to give this to me, guess I'll take it." As engulfed in flames, he rockets up from the ground, punching Viernes square in the gut, hitting him into the sky. As Natsu is visibly in dragon force, still visibly shaken by Viernes' hardness, but he says, "I'm just gonna burn everything with everyone's magic hotter, hotter, and hotter." As he then, with his heat, begins to crack Viernes' golden dragon scales, as enchanting him with all that magic, plus his own elemental affinity, is actually doing something to Viernes and dealing actual damage to him. Natsu then does his best Jotaro impression and begins to essentially aura his way with a bunch of explosive fiery fists all over Viernes' body, giving him like a continuous amount of massive damage that is visibly injuring him. Lucy looks up, envisions Athena, and tells Natsu please, as we see, I gotta say, this panel of Natsu just roaring in very sketch-like manner. Really cool, really shows the rawness of the situation. As Natsu hits Viernes again, and the sheer force of that fire not only undid the gold of the trees in the surroundings, but he completely incinerated them. As Natsu then hits Viernes once more in a cool 2-page spread, and a giant fiery explosion knocking him back, Natsu smirks at Viernes, looks very angrily at Natsu, which ends chapter 150. We now move on to chapter 152, One Other Person's Feelings. As we then see, directly from last chapter, Natsu hit Viernes, and Viernes looks angrily at Natsu. He then crashes into the ground, with Natsu looking very confidently, but Viernes then opens up his wings and jumps into the sky. Everyone is getting ready because he's about to do a breath attack most likely, and since everyone's out of magic, they have no choice but to leave it to Natsu. But Happy has just enough power to grab onto Natsu and fly him up to Viernes. And as they go up there, Viernes shines with gold and even launches a bunch of golden beams into the ground, turning the area into gold as well, and destroying the area. But as Lucy looks up, the sky is glittering as he essentially turned the sky into gold. Or at least, that is just the sheer amount of energy produced by Viernes just unleashing his power in the air at full force. And I like how even Jalal's like, so the power, this scope, it's truly the work of a god. As Viernes finally speaks, saying, "Know your place, human." As he says humans are not worthy to face a dragon god, as he uses a gold attack from his hand to blast over at Natsu, which he then dodges. He then tells for everyone to be gone, as he then unleashes a giant energy blast, turning everything in the area into gold. As we then see that not only are inanimate objects being turned into gold, but the rest of the group are starting to be encased in gold as well. As he's doing this so they can't really run away, and so they're basically stuck in place, making them heavier, thus making them easier for him to just deal with all at once. It is also affecting Natsu and Happy as they're flying in the air. Happy states how they're getting way too heavy, but Natsu tells Happy he can do it, and that he should fly Natsu straight into the man's throat. That way he can deliver everybody's magic, as everybody is looking in concerningly and hopefully at Natsu, going straight towards Viernes. Viernes then charges up another blast attack, as Natsu tells Happy to throw him right into the breath attack. And Natsu says to trust him, and Natsu is thrown into the oncoming blast of Viernes' gold dragon breath. Natsu is being encased in this blast attack, as everyone notices something about the breath. Natsu says, "When I close my eyes, I see Athena's face," shocking Viernes, as he says very angrily, "She was supposed to have a future, but she merged with you so we could beat you. Can't you feel her inside of you?" As Viernes is obviously incredibly surprised at what's going on. Natsu shouts, "I can hear her," as we get an image of Athena saying, "Natsu, use these flames," as Natsu then begins to eat the gold dragon breath. As Gray points out that the breath isn't gold, it's actually golden flames. As we then get a flashback to the Oration Seis arc by Jalal, as he remembers the flame that he gave Natsu, which allowed him to go into Dragon Force completely for the first time in the series, not counting the Ether Nano power-up in Tower of Heaven. Flame of Guilt, or the Flame of Rebuke, and that was kind of a somewhat golden fire. Now, I might be reading into this wrong, but it's very possible that Viernes is using just a gold-tinted fire that can turn things into gold. So it does classify under fire, which is why Natsu can eat it, or, which I kind of like this and would explain things a bit more naturally, if I'm being honest with you, subconsciously, Athena is turning the gold from Viernes' blast breath to make it actual fire so Natsu can eat it and use it to take out Viernes. That might be hopium or copium or whatever, but I feel like it makes the most logical sense because every dragon slayer or dragon has just had a breath attack based off of their particular element or just concept in general. So having a breath of gold makes sense for a gold dragon, but if the breath attack is a literal golden flame, that seems both kind of, it can make sense, but also kind of iffy as well. The Athena one makes the most sense to me in my own whole, explanation. But if it's just a gold tinted flame that can just turn things into gold, that's fine too. But what kind of fuels my theory about Athena subconsciously changing into fire is that Viernes himself was also surprised that Natsu was eating the fire. So either or, take this interpretation as you will, I guess. But yeah, Natsu's eating this breath attack head on to amplify his magic. And so he charges up an attack and hits Viernes square in the head, launching in a nice, amazingly drawn 2-page spread, the Fire Dragon King's Demolition Strike, or the Demolition Fist. Dealing an explosive blow to Viernes, as the chapter ends with us seeing that Natsu had seemingly destroyed Viernes' head, ending the fight. And that is the end of the chapter. Now, do I think Viernes is done for good? Well, it's 50-50. For one, this seems pretty definitive. Everybody gave Natsu's powers. Natsu ate Viernes' flame so he could actually deal more damage to Viernes, deal a devastating blow, essentially reflecting his own powers back at him. And his head was blown off, so that seems pretty definitive to me. However, unlike the other dragon gods, which has been a pattern, we have not seen their human appearance, if Viernes does have one, because seemingly all the dragon gods have had some sort of transformation magic to give them a human-shaped form. So, I don't know. It's very possible that he's been defeated, but there's a high likelihood that he has yet to be beaten, and that we have yet to see Viernes' full human form to actually face off against Natsu. Because I do feel like 3 chapters was not enough to take out Viernes. Doggermog got at least 8 chapters, if I remember correctly. And even then, we had to keep cutting in between with different fights and moments. But that fight was pretty long, one of the longest fights of the series, same with Alderaan. So there's a lot to really consider when it comes to Viernes being taken out, and it just feels kind of rushed. Like, literally, every fight in this arc has essentially been settled with only, a single chapter. I know Mashima doesn't like doing super long fights, but I feel like, especially for a final boss that he's done consistently, given multiple chapters to really breathe, and to actually feel some weighty impact, if that makes any sense. But those are my 2 cents on it. We can most likely, within the next chapter, see Viernes emerge, and what we essentially got destroyed was just like a hollow case that he created around himself to fight, and that isn't even his true form, for all we know, and he turns to his humanoid form and begins to fight Natsu, bare-knuckle brawling or whatever. That is very possible, but one thing I did like about these last couple of chapters was showcasing a fight between Natsu and an actual dragon. I think the choreography of an actual human fighting a dragon was done pretty well in this chapter, because my one concern about fighting the dragon gods, if they didn't have a human-shaped appearance, was that the choreography wasn't going to be too bombastic. It was going to be like, big blow, no dodging or no actual dragons trying to do any combat type things. Viernes did try to use actual punches and stomp him into the ground, or use blast attacks or dragon attacks with his limbs, and had a variety of abilities from what we can see. So yeah, the fight itself has been fun. I just don't think it's over just yet. But if it is, I'll just be disappointed. But that's all I really got to say for these last couple of chapters of Fairy Tail. How do you feel about this? Do you think Viernes has been taken out all in all? How do you feel about Natsu eating the gold dragon breath to gain an extra power boost to take out Viernes? And do you think it was just kind of out of nowhere, or do you agree with my whole Athena pitch that she did this subconsciously to make it a fire for Natsu to finish off Viernes? And like I said at the beginning of the video, do you prefer these 3-chapter videos? I'll be going through the last 3 chapters, or do you want me to narrow it down to 2 so you can get more chapter reviews every few months? Let me know in the comment section down below, and if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps it shows you guys enjoy the content I make on this channel and you want to see more. Look forward to more Fairy Tail Friday videos in the future, and with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.